Ranger, John Burke. 5, Monksfield, Desi Hughes. 6, Norfolk Dance, John Frankham. 7, Paiute, Martin Blackshaw. 8, Pollardstown, Philip Blacker. 10, Royal Boxer, Mike Williams. And 11, Sea Pigeon, John Joe O'Neill. Here's how they're betting on our way to join them with Richard Pitt.
Monksfield's price bearing out what Terry was just saying. Monksfield 11 to 10, Pollardstown 7 to 2, Sea Pigeon on 6 to 1, Bird's Nest and Connaught Ranger both 10s, Paiute 20 to 1, Broadleys and Norfolk Dance 25 to 1, 100 to 1 Royal Boxer.
And a packed crowd there around the parade ring now, looking at the dual champion, and Monksfield bidding to join that elite band of horses who have won 3 champion hurdles. A lot of people have tried to do it, but a lot of people have failed. Well, Monksfield had looked decidedly a shadow of former days earlier in the season. In fact, before Christmas, in fact, finished last in an amateur hurdle race on one occasion, last of 8. But he's come back. His trainer, Des McDonough, said that he would. He said he felt him coming back. He had a blood disorder. And although you might think that can be put right overnight, it can't. But anyway, Des McDonough was right. He was proved right because he ran so well in the Erin Foods hurdle. And Desi Hughes didn't punish him that day. You'll remember seeing him in the champion hurdle last year. Every time Desi asked him for anything, he gave it. So he's cherry ripe for the day. You may think that he looks a little bit fat there, but remember that he is an entire horse. He's destined for a career at stud when he finishes his racing. And they're a lot rounder bodied horses than geldings, these colts. So you can see a lot of condition on this fella, but he's always like that. And he was out as usual on the track this morning doing his pre-champion hurdle gallop. But I think as we look at him now, sideways on, he's in the pink of condition. For Monksfield, full of game battling qualities, and this is something that we can't see when we're trying to buy horses as youngsters. And Des McDonough bought this one very cheaply indeed for 710 guineas, well, or 740 guineas. I should think he'd like to buy another hatful at the same price. His owner, Dr. Michael Mangan, who works in Newfoundland, a great supporter of the game, and has refused all sorts of bids for this horse. Even before he ever started winning races, he refused quite a profit on the horse. Well, I think we're in for another thrilling race, and if he wins, they'll be able to hear the cheers over in Ireland. That's Monksfield, winner of the last 2 years of this race. Pollardstown, Pigeon, who hasn't run for almost 4 months now, but certainly his trainer Peter Easterby wouldn't run him unless he was thought able to do himself justice. Peter's already won this race with Saucy Kit back in 1967. Saucy Kit, who's now a very successful stallion with Roy Edwards, who was his jockey when he won the champion hurdle. Peter's also won it with Night Nurse in 76 and 77, and Sea Pigeon second the last 2 years. Well, if the Irish are going to raise the roof, if Monksfield wins, I think there'll be an army of supporters shouting for this fellow to win, for Pat Muldoon, who's a very sporting owner indeed. He's taken defeat very philosophically in the 2 years he's been beaten. But I think that things will be more in his favour this year, except for the fact that he's been off the course for so long. But if he is fit, he'll be given a good lead by both Pollardstown and Monksfield. I think he wants to come after the last. I think he's been coming too soon. He thought he'd won his race last year and then started to idle a bit. But he's got a lot of foot, and I'd like to see this one coming after the last hurdle, not before it. And Bird's Nest, a regular contender for the hurdling crown, always tends to run left-handed after the last, but certainly, again, one not to be ruled out. His form this year is as good as ever. He's won 17 races. Bird's Nest is 12 to 1 from 10s. But he's won 17 races in all and £63,000. This season he's won 3 of his 5 starts, including beating Sea Pigeon and also Connaught Ranger. But on this course in December, as you saw from our film clip earlier, Connaught Ranger did turn the tables when the pair finished second and third to Celtic Ride. And unfortunately, Celtic Ride out of action. We'd have liked to have seen him running in this race. So that's Bird's Nest, ridden by Andy Tunnell. Never rule this one out. And Connaught Ranger, doesn't he look very, very proud indeed? By Connaught, as his name suggests, and he's 12 to 1 from 10 to 1, the latest betting on him. And as Terry remarked, John Burke teaming up with him again. John, who was former first jockey to Fred Rymel, but went to Ireland for a while and had a very nasty injury on Boxing Day when he injured his shoulder. But anyway, now with the revised riding arrangements at the Kinnersley stable, John pleased to be reunited with Connaught Ranger, and this fella's done nothing wrong all season. Totally consistent whenever he's been out. He's won the Triumph Hurdle, the Daily Express Triumph Hurdle here. He knows his way round, and he's been equipped with blinkers but runs just as well without them, and this is one that ought to be breathing down their necks as they go to the last. Connaught Ranger, number 4. There's number 10, Royal Boxer, the outsider. He was a decent horse, went to France where he also proved himself again, but I'm afraid his form this season has been somewhat disappointing after a good run first time out. He's still a maiden over hurdles, this one, and it would be a major surprise if he were to win. That's number 10, Royal Boxer, trained by Milton Bradley at Chepstow and ridden by Michael Williams. So the runners filing out now. A lot of people wanting or choosing to see them close up on their way out. They, of course, won't get much view from the grandstands because they're packed. So the horses make their way through the tented village where so many people choose to entertain their friends. But a lot of people, and I am, well, not really surprised because it's nice to get in amongst the horses and see them close at hand, but these people certainly won't be able to get up the grandstand to see the race itself. Again, being preceded by the hunt servants on their way out. That, of course, brings something into focus, a point that Red Rum isn't going to lead the horses at Liverpool. Well, if the hunt horses can lead these horses out, I'd have thought perhaps he could have done so there. Bird's Nest being led out, and again David Nicholson in the shot. He certainly means to have his word with Andy Turnell. They're probably discussing later riding arrangements. Behind him is Broad Lees, the novice, by Breeder's Dream out of Nappy Girl, and owned by Mrs. Dorothy Price, the wife of Ryan Price, and Mrs. A. Scrimmager. Now, Josh Gifford trains this one, and he's aiming high, but this one's done nothing wrong. Then we see Connaught Ranger and John Burke looking very serious. Then Little Monkey himself, jig-jogging, and look how well he is. He's almost bucked then. He's got his head down. Look how cheeky he is. Well, if he's been ever better than that, I don't know. He is so full of himself. He's a little stallion. He's so proud. He knows he's on the ground where he's the reigning champion, and he's not going to give in without a struggle today. I think you're going to see one of the biggest receptions that Cheltenham has probably ever seen. And he's looking tighter all the time. Now, as he's getting excited, you can see that his tummy is actually tightening up. He certainly looked tubbier than that in the paddock. And I think it's just nerves now, the adrenaline flowing through his body. He really knows what he's here for. It's Little Monksfield, number 5. Desi Hughes, the jockey there, trainer in his own right now in Ireland. And there is the packed grandstand. In fact, down below it is the lawn. You can't see any grass because of the throng of people there. I should think the bookmakers, although they'd have been hammered by the first 2 winners and probably take a hammering here, a lot of money going on all sorts of horses. But that is a very awesome sight, I can assure you, when you're battling for honours up the little green strip of grass that is the winning hill. Going down there is 6. This is Norfolk Dance, Fred Winter's representative. This one was bred by Miss E.B. Rigdon and is owned by Mr. Neville London, who's in his 86th year. And he told me if Norfolk Dance wins, he'll throw his hat so high it'll go over the stands. This one, not one to be ruled out either, because he was 25-1 at the last show, but he did beat Celtic Ride here over 2.5 miles. He stays, he loves a stiff track, and John Frankham told me to ignore his last running. He thought the horse was a little bit short of work at Newbury and the track not stiff enough. So this one has shown that he can beat Celtic Ride. Celtic Ride's form integrated with all the other fancied runners. So at 25-1, if you fancy a silly bet, well, you have a few pounds on this one each way. He won't disappoint you. Number 7 is Payut. This is owned by Daniel Wildenstein and trained, as was Spello, by Jacques Barbe in France. And this one bred by Dayton Limited. Martin Blackshaw, the jockey here, and a very rangy horse, this fellow, a long way from his head to his toes. And though he's the winner of the French champion hurdle, don't let that really influence you, because that is a 3.25 mile race. But he did win over 1.5 miles over hurdles as a 3-year-old, so a lot of speed, this fellow. He's now a 7-year-old, and they all carry 12 stone for these championships, it's a level weight job. He's got a lot behind him, but he'll need it to be a staying race, and so therefore I would assume that he'll go off in front. He'll probably try and make all his own running, but it's a very hard thing to do. We saw Adderglog's daughter do it, but not many horses can do it here at Cheltenham, and I think that this one will probably run himself into the ground a bit. Being followed by Pollardstown, there he is just ready to turn. Last year's juvenile champion, taking on the older horses, and he looks well. I think that this horse certainly is far from wiry. If I could buy 2 or 3 like him every year, I'd be quite pleased. Well, his form figures, fell, win, fell, aren't really inspiring for if you want to back him. But having seen him school, I think that his jumping was falling was rather a result of being rather blasé and relaxing too much. His mind will be on his job here. Philip Blacker, the rider, himself a very talented sculptor, and has works, limited editions, really keep him in his old age when he's not able to ride anymore, but he's certainly riding well at the moment, having a lot of success both for Stan Miller and John Edwards. Well, there again, that gives you an idea of the hill. Looking down it, we don't quite realise how steep it is, but having fought their way downhill, it's quite a way to the finishing post there, and as you've seen in the past, a lot of things can change from the last to the winning post. Here come the runners. On the left is Connaught Ranger, owned by Jim McGoffey. Jim, who's gone into horses in a big way. And Broadlees, they're pulling hard with the white face. This is a nice horse. Whatever happens to him today, I think that you'll see a lot of him over fences. But Broadlees won at Chepstow last time over 2.5 miles. So again, a strong gallop set by Payut will certainly suit this one, as well as Norfolk Dance. So while the contenders for the champion hurdle collect themselves and look at the first hurdle, we have some results for you.
The 250 at Cheltenham, first number 1, Adderglog's Daughter, 9-4. Second number 6, Corrib Chieftain, 7-1. Third number 10, Netherton, 20-1. The Windtote, 28 pence. The places 15 pence, 18 pence, and 14 pence. Computer Straight Forecast paid £1.73 pence, and the Dual Forecast £1 4 pence. Sedgefield 230, first number 6 Fogbound 10-1, second number 5 Northern Support 8-1, third number 16 Tusac 2-1. The Windtote 93 pence, places 25 pence, 18 pence and 25 pence. Computer Straight Forecast £9.77, Dual Forecast 86 pence. And the 3-5 at Sedgefield, first number 2 Rubstick 11-10 favourite, second number 6 Another Captain 6-1, third number 3 Rigorous 3-1. The Windtote, 28 pence. The places 11 pence, 10 pence, and 11 pence. The Computer Straight Forecast, 82 pence. The Dual Forecast, 28 pence.
Well, that's a good result for Rubstick's fans. And there's Little Monkey going down to the post to bid in his bid to be the 4th Triple Champion Hurdle winner. And Monksfield, bred by P.C. Ryan, Peter Ryan. And also a book has been produced and published last week on Monksfield, so if he wins, it won't do Jonathan Powell, the author, any harm at all. The breeders of these horses, the Irish National Stud has an interest here because they bred Pollardstown, so they'll be shouting for him. There's the French horse with his back to us, very lean and wiry horse, carrying a bit of middle there, but sort of tailing away towards his quarters. Martin Blackshaw, an artist in the saddle, and Connaught Ranger drifting a point, or coming in rather a point there to 11-1 from 12s. There he is, Connaught Ranger, the chestnut, and being accompanied by his lad, just re-girthing there and keeping him calm. You can see he's sweating a lot, as is Broadlees. A lot of these horses getting excited now. They know what's on. Here comes John Burke and Connaught Ranger. Very proud horse. You can see that he carries his head very high. Broadlees behind there, sweating, the novice, 6-year-old. And just before we see them at closer, we have some more betting for you.
Full show, Monksfield 11-10, Pollardstown 7-2, Sea Pigeon 6-1, Connaught Ranger now 11-1, Bird's Nest 12s, Payut 20, Broadlees and Norfolk Dance 25-1, and Royal Boxer 100-1. And Monksfield has just gone 6-5.
And Monksfield 6-5. He was 9-4 favourite when he won last year. There he is, quite relaxed. He was so cocky as he was coming out of the paddock, thinking, I know where I am, I'm at Cheltenham. He's already been out here on this turf this morning having a pipe opener. Of course, colts are a lot stuffier in their wind than geldings, and they need, this little fella in particular needs an awful lot of work. And Des McDonough has come in for a lot of stick from people over the years, but he's come up with the results every time. Broadley's there very much on his toes. Martin Blackshaw pulling his goggles down on Paiute. They're coming in very shortly to join the starter, so over to Peter O'Sullivan.
Yes, Captain Smalley just walking across towards his rostrum now. The flag about to be raised, and there it goes. They're under orders for the champion hurdle, and they're running, and Paiute for France is the first to show. Paiute goes on from Pollardstown and Monksfield, and then Bird's Nest and Norfolk Dance, Connaught Ranger, Royal Boxer, and then Broadleys and Sea Pigeon as they come to the first of the 8 flights. And Paiute with a commanding lead as he comes to the first and jumps his first English hurdle in public quite well. He clipped the top but didn't lose any impetus whatsoever. Martin Blackshaw and Paiute in the lead from Monksfield and Pollardstown, then Bird's Nest and Royal Boxer and Norfolk Dance, and Broadleys, Connaught Ranger and Sea Pigeon, and not going a very fast pace at the moment. Monksfield taking quite a strong hold with Desi Hughes, and it's Paiute, Monksfield, little between the two. Then comes Pollardstown and Bird's Nest and Royal Boxer and Connaught Ranger and Norfolk Dance and Broadleys and Sea Pigeon as they come to the next. Paiute and Monksfield over it together from Pollardstown and Bird's Nest and Royal Boxer and Connaught Ranger and Norfolk Dance, Sea Pigeon and Broadleys as they swing left-handed, and Monksfield has taken a fractional advantage from Paiute, these two disputing it from Pollardstown on the inside of Bird's Nest, then Connaught Ranger, then comes Royal Boxer, Norfolk Dance, Broadleys, and finally Sea Pigeon as they race towards the top of this first hill. Paiute on the inside of Monksfield, Bird's Nest and Pollardstown next. Then comes Connaught Ranger, Royal Boxer, Norfolk Dance, Sea Pigeon, and finally Broadleys as they run downhill towards the third flight. Paiute for France from Monksfield, Pollardstown and Bird's Nest. Broadleys on the inside, Connaught Ranger towards the outer, then Norfolk Dance, Sea Pigeon and Royal Boxer, and a beautiful jump there by Sea Pigeon takes him much closer to the leaders, Paiute and Monksfield. Then Bird's Nest on the outside, Pollardstown. Then Sea Pigeon, Royal Boxer, Broadleys, Connaught Ranger and Norfolk Dance. Coming down to the 4th flight and to the halfway mark in the champion hurdle, and it's Paiute and Monksfield going to jump it pretty well together. Paiute and Monksfield. Monksfield on the outside of Paiute. Very close to them, Pollardstown and Bird's Nest, Broadleys, Royal Boxer, Connaught Ranger, Sea Pigeon and Norfolk Dance. Racing uphill now, and it's Paiute from Monksfield and Pollardstown, Bird's Nest, Connaught Ranger, Broadleys, Royal Boxer, Norfolk Dance and Sea Pigeon. As they race to the top of the hill, Monksfield takes a fractional lead from Paiute. Bird's Nest is very close, so is Connaught Ranger and Pollardstown. Then comes Sea Pigeon, behind Sea Pigeon, Royal Boxer, then Broadleys, and finally Norfolk Dance. They're racing downhill now with 3 flights left to jump, and it's Monksfield and Desi Hughes and Paiute and Martin Blackshaw from Bird's Nest. Connaught Ranger coming there, Pollardstown just in behind the leader. Sea Pigeon making good progress too as they come down to the 3rd last. Monksfield, Bird's Nest, Connaught Ranger, Paiute losing ground, Pollardstown coming there, Sea Pigeon only just in behind the leaders, and it's Monksfield in the lead now from Pollardstown, Sea Pigeon just in behind them, Bird's Nest and Connaught Ranger very close, coming to the 2nd last flight now in the champion hurdle, and it's Monksfield in the lead from Bird's Nest, Pollardstown, Connaught Ranger, and just in behind them Sea Pigeon over the 2nd last. It was Monksfield who led. Monksfield in the lead from Pollardstown, Sea Pigeon coming there, then Bird's Nest, then comes Connaught Ranger and Royal Boxer, and rounding the home turn now in the champion hurdle, and it's Monksfield in the lead from Bird's Nest and Sea Pigeon. Monksfield, Sea Pigeon and Bird's Nest are the 3 principals as they come to the last. It's Monksfield who's going to touch down just in the lead from Sea Pigeon. Monksfield and Sea Pigeon, it's a repeat of last year. The same two fighting it out. Sea Pigeon coming there on the near side, and Sea Pigeon's going to avenge that defeat of last year. He's striding up to the line, the veteran 10-year-old. He's won it at last. Sea Pigeon wins the champion hurdle. Monksfield is beaten for the first time in 3 years. Bird's Nest is third. 4 is Royal Boxer. 5, 6 and 7 are Pollardstown, Connaught Ranger, Norfolk Dance, and then come Broadleys, and Paiute is last for France. And so the result of the 1980 Waterford Crystal Champion Hurdle: first, number 11, Sea Pigeon, owned by Mr. Pat Muldoon, trained by Peter Easterby and ridden by John Joe O'Neill. Second was number 5, Monksfield, owned by Dr. Michael Mangan, trained by Des McDonough and ridden by Desi Hughes. And third was number 1, Bird's Nest, owned by Mr. Ian Scott and Mr. Bob Turnell, trained by Bob Turnell and written by Andy Turnell. Fourth was number 10, Royal Boxer. So the veteran 10-year-old does it at last. He avenges his 2 previous defeats by Monksfield. He foils the champion's hat-trick bid. Here's how he did it as we see the closing stages again with Julian Wilson.
Well, how fascinating and almost unbelievable to see these 2 great horses coming to the last in the champion hurdle together for the 3rd year in succession. But this year it was different to last. Last year, Sea Pigeon cruised up to Monksfield, certainly, but on his inside. This time he was on his outside. John Joe didn't let go of his head as they came to the last. Monksfield's been asked by Desi Hughes just as he was last year, and just as last year, he's given all he's got. But this time, John Joe had more resources. He had more in hand on Sea Pigeon. He just held on a little bit longer. He didn't ask for his run going to the last. He asked for his run after he jumped the last, and he so quickly put 2 lengths between himself and Monksfield that Monksfield never had a chance to play his key card, which was courage. Today it was class that won, the class of Sea Pigeon on ground marginally better than last year. Monksfield couldn't do his best on this slightly sticky ground, and Sea Pigeon at last, at the 3rd or 4th time of asking, wins the champion hurdle.
Yes, you're right, Julian, the 4th time of asking. 13-2, the winner. And what a thrill this for the former champion and champion-elect, John Joe O'Neill. He's ridden a peach of a race on him. Being congratulated there by John Oaksey. 7 lengths and 1.5 lengths. So the old veteran interrupts the Irish bonanza here after the visitors had scored in the first 2 races. What a fine race that horse ran, Royal Boxer. It was 4th. And there's the little champion, or ex-champion now himself, Monksfield, after running his usual gallant race. And don't forget Bird's Nest. So often the bridesmaid, but never quite good enough for this incomparable title event. A really notable training feat this by Peter Easterby. I saw him with Pat Muldoon up here at about 8 o'clock just before this morning, and he was shaking his head and saying, you know, he's really only 90% this horse. I've had a hell of a job to produce him at Cheltenham. He had an infection in a hoof, and it was a long time before he could get him back to work, and he really didn't think he'd done enough to get him right. And big and burly he looked too. But my goodness, how that class toed. Pat Muldoon's last comment to me when we walked off the gallops this morning, well, if he doesn't win this afternoon, you win the Chester Cup anyway. Well, he might do that as well. So English roars this time, and doubtless the cheers swelled by many an Irishman for the final ultimate deserving champion. And cheers from Monkey too. And the starting prices as follows.
First, Sea Pigeon, 13-2. Second, Monksfield, 6-5 favourite. Third, Bird's Nest, 11-1. The jackpot number of the winner, 311. 311. And the final trial a dividend, £1,505.79 for a 10-pence stake.
Well, a really amazing performance that for Sea Pigeon, the first horse since Hatton's Grace 29 years ago to win the champion hurdle at the age of 10, and I think he fooled most of us. Terry, I mean, did you in fact really think that it was on at any stage for him to win the race beforehand?
Not beforehand, no, but you must put it down to the trainer. What an amazing feat of training. Hadn't had a race since December, to come back and to beat Monksfield, and it is just some training performance. Brilliant.
He did something similar with Saucy Kit, didn't he?
I know. Yes, yes, he did. Absolutely
Two
true.
weeks beforehand, he wasn't going to run in the race.
That's right. And I was broke up, and I should have ridden Saucy Kit, thanks to the memories.
But did you feel that Monksfield ran his race today?
Yes, he's still tough. He's still battled all the way. But for me, at the water, he was never really going. You know, Desi Hughes, he was sort of niggling at him, you know. And I think at that stage with his class, he would like to be on the bridle there, having a little bit of a second wind, a little bit of a blow. But he never really got it, because the French horse kept going all the way to the top of the hill. And Desi, you know, if he was going on the bridle and he filled his bellows up, it would have helped him a lot. But then, you know, this old Sea Pigeon had been sat in behind, and John Joe had been riding the most superb race, and he waited and waited and waited.
Well, at the top of the hill, in fact, it looked a very open race indeed, didn't it? The French horse was there, Monksfield was with him, but there were two or three going really well behind, Bird's Nest and, of course, Sea Pigeon.
This is right. Bird's Nest is going terribly well, but...
that's him in fourth.
That's right, in sort of the red cap. There's a French horse, the White Noseband, on the right. You know, Monksfield, he takes it up here. Connaught Ranger in third place, and he was going well here. Maybe he's seen a bit too much daylight for him, but now the pressure's really on. They've gone, as I said before, they've gone a good gallop. There's Monk, he really jumps at. But there's John Joe, he's in fifth place there, and he's still waiting. He's got a wall of horses in front of him. You can't really see him, but he's absolutely the breast girth on. And he's still waiting there. See, Andy,
only one horse is going as well, and that's Andy, isn't it?
Andy, I know, on Bird's Nest, of course. But he's looking about there, old Bird's Nest, and he's thinking of that hill. They're sort of Desi user. He kicks for home now, and I'm sure that little horse, his old ears are going, his Desi slapping him down the shoulder, hands and heels, and he's responding well to him. John Joe there, he's got 2 stone in him by the looks of it, more so than last year. And I'm sure he's thinking, but they both made dead right. They both absolutely fly the hurdle, pinged it. Now John Joe, now he's the first time he's let this horse run, and now he lengthened his stride up this hill, and he responded with such great gameness. No discard to the second horse, you know, and he can't do no more. But I think John Joe, he's waited longer on Sea Pigeon this year, you know, and last year he run before the hurdle and got there. But this year he waited until he jumped the last, then he used his turn of foot. But what a horse, 10 years old. Unbelievable. And
the other thing, of course, last year, if you remember, they all came down the stand side of the course, and he couldn't really sort of bury him, but there he's held him, he's had him absolutely covered to the last, hasn't he? You know, he's never seen daylight, really, till he's pulled him out just before the last.
This is right, never seen daylight. And this happens on the flat with him, because if he goes to the front too soon, when he's on the flat, when he's winning, and he goes to the front too soon, he usually runs out of petrol. And you've got to wait and wait, and what patience John Joe had. It was quite extraordinary.
I suppose another factor, of course, is the fact that this year the champion hurdle being run on the first day is probably being run on better or less cut-up ground than it has been for a number of years.
Well, it must be the right thing, really, you know. You want to see good horses, and you don't want to make excuses by saying they raced the day before and they've cut the ground up and it's heavy going. Like today, we've got the best of the going for good horses, and there's no excuse for the ground or anything. And it's fair for every horse in the race.
So, a good or a great champion day?
Well, it's great for Mickey's to be. It's great for John Joe now, and much more great for Sea Pigeon, because he surely deserved to win it. I'm sure he did.
Peter used to be, of course.
Peter East, yes. I always get mixed up with the brothers.
Well, Terry, thank you, and tremendous scenes of excitement in the unsaddling enclosure, where any moment the champion hurdle trophy will be presented to Pat Muldoon. Let's rejoin Peter O'Sullivan.
And so 1 year when all the Waterford crystal doesn't have to be re-exported to Ireland, it'll be Scotland bound. What a great success Pat Muldoon has made of owning since he entered the game. only a decade ago. Mrs. Paddy McGrath, the wife of the chairman of Waterford Crystal, to present the magnificent trophy. This is the third race of the afternoon that Waterford Crystal sponsor, and of course there is also the fine trophy to be won by the winning jockey of the meeting, associated with the Ritz Trophy. To the left there, John Joe. You will hardly need me to identify him for you, with the white-haired Pat Muldoon, looking very much neater than in the early hours this morning when we were up here in the cold. Receives the trophy from Mrs. Paddy McGrath. What a servant this horse has been to him. Won the Ebor. And of any other jockeys, I wonder, in history, won an Ebor and a champion hurdle, as John Joe O'Neill has done. And Peter Easterby, receiving the applause due him for a fine training feat. For the horse who looked sure to be out of the running a few weeks ago. And John Joe O'Neill, after his first champion hurdle triumph, the record holder for the number of winners ridden in a season. And all set to become the first to achieve a century this season and to win the State Express Challenge trophy in the process.